Hey guys, I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk to you guys about pack capacity, how it degrades over time, and then also how that kind of works into having a current sensor, or in this case, the Mikado UI sensor, and being able to kind of dial them in together, especially when you're dealing, if you're just getting this set up, maybe you just purchased a UI sensor and you've got some old packs. There's some things we really need to pay attention to, or else they can get very inaccurate very fast. So what I've got here, I've got my trusty 570, and these are some ancient Success 5000 packs. I've had these over 2 years. I can't say that I track them, but I'm guessing 200 to 250 cycles would be my guess. The biggest mistake here is assuming that the 5000 milliamp label on the front is now accurate. That's not the case. It might have been when they were new, but it is definitely not the case now. So how do we figure that out? Well, what we need to do first, I'll show you guys how to kind of get this set up, and then what I do to dial it in and find out what the pack capacity actually is. Close enough for what we're doing. Now there's a couple different ways. We could do this by actually flying the model, and we can do it on the bench. Now the bench can, in some applications, be more accurate. You can do it with your charger. You can charge your pack all the way up, discharge it down to 3.74 volts per cell, and we know that that's approximately about 20% left remaining. So then you can do the backwards math and look at your charger and say, oh, well, I only took 3,000 milliamps out of it now. And then, do your math and go from there to find out what the pack actually has. But why I think the flying method is the best way is because the more load that you put on the battery, the more heat loss that you're going to get, the more heat that's going to build up, and then the less performance you're going to get out of the pack. So the harder you load it, it's actually going to show a lower capacity than if you put less of a load on it and draw it out over a longer period of time. So what we're going to do, I have my motor off switch on, my safety switch on. I'm going to go ahead and plug this one in, and then I'll show you guys the screens here. Okay, so the first thing that pops up, this model does not have the battery ID reader in it. So this is 5000 number 2. So we're going to put that in. Now I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom under application setup. I'm going to go here. And then we are going to go down to battery logbook right there, second from the bottom. Okay, so first thing up is battery setup. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to set the use capacity for 75%. What that means is that I want my alarm to go off when I have 25% remaining. Now, that's kind of a personal preference. This is where I set my 570 and my 700 and larger models. What that usually gives me is 1 to 2 autos at the end of a flight. My smaller models like the 380 and the 500, I will set those down to about 22% because the second that the timer is going to go off, I'm just going to immediately come in and land. It kind of depends on your personal preference. If you like to have a timer go off and then dink around for a little bit longer, just bump this number up. So for me, it's about 25%. Cell count, obviously, 6 cell, 4.2 volts per cell is fully charged. Now here's the capacity. So what I'm going to do, now as you'll see, I have 4400 milliamp in here. Except this is a quote unquote 5000 milliamp battery. Well, it was when it started life, now it's not. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use this 6S5000 for example. I'm actually going to come up here and I'm going to dial this number down to 4000. Now I'm going to go out and fly the model, do my normal flying routine, and when the alarm goes off, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to check my cell voltage static with the model unplugged. What I'm shooting for is right around 3.74 volts. That will be about 20% remaining left in the pack. Now, if I have mine set at 25, my alarm goes off, I do a big climb, nice big auto at the end, somewhere around in there. Again, we don't have to be dead on accurate. What we need to be is accurate for your flying style and your routine. That's really the key there. So let's say I bring this in after that, and I check it with my cell checker, and I go, whoa, hey, I'm sitting at 3.85 volts now. Well, then we know that we can probably bump this up a couple hundred milliamps and try again. So that's how I do it. Now, this one ended up being about 40. I'll probably actually go through and redo it, 43 or 4400. That took a couple flights, probably 3 flights to get dialed in pretty close. And now everything is really accurate for this battery. Now, there's one other thing. If we exit back out of that and we go into battery saver, under here there's an alarm voltage per cell. This is very much so dependent on how and what you're doing. If you're a super light sport pilot and you're not stressing your packs that hard, you can bump this up a little bit. 3.3, 3.4 volts per cell. And what that is that's an alarm that's going to go off at that loaded voltage. Now, speed flying, whole different ball game. Expect this to go off at 3.3 volts. That will probably be like your, hey, I'm now done with my run and I need to go in. Because when I unload the model, it's going to bounce back up to your 375 or your 377 or whatever. So that is really kind of tailored to you. I usually start at 3.3 volts. Now, why do we have that alarm? If we're still using the capacity function and you know that your timer is going to go off, well, that is a great indicator of pack quality. And also, if you're flying in cold weather, if you go out and you start hearing this alarm on your first flight of the day, you did not warm up your packs enough. They are too cold when they're out there. And your normal battery, or at a normal temperature, you would not set that alarm off. But because you didn't warm up your packs enough before you flew, it did go off. And it'll also kind of give you an idea, hey, wow, this battery is really dying. Because normally it wasn't doing that, but now all of a sudden it is. So you can go in and really monitor your cell voltages a little bit better. Another thing in here that's really important, I set the sample time, by the way, for that for half a second, is this bottom one, flight aging. Now, this is what will keep us from having to do this on a new pack. So flight aging, you'll see the value here is how many milliamps per flight. The batteries degrade, capacities degrade the more flights you put on it, and with time and age too. And you see they also have a function called store aging, which is in milliamps per 100 days. Now, I fly pretty much year round. My batteries don't sit on the shelf much. I use them up flight count wise far before they age. So I'm not too worried about that one right now. I also haven't had this system really long enough to determine if that is a factor. But the flight aging, definitely. Now, where did I come up with this number 3 that I have in here? Honestly, it's kind of a guess. I'm looking at how many cycles I have on packs, where they're sitting at right now. I know that these are generally good packs to go off of. I'm consistently using good quality packs. If you're not, you might want to put this number higher. But I figure about 3 milliamps per flight. So, if we get up into the 100 flight mark, now we're looking at a 4,700 milliamp pack instead of 5,000. Now, you might go, oh my gosh, that's absolutely ridiculous. Well, do yourself a favor. If you set it at 3 and it's too high, oh well, big deal. You didn't hurt anything, you didn't damage your pack. But if you set this too low, you can potentially damage your pack. So, set it at 3 and check it after 50 flights or check it after 100 flights and say, okay, wow, my resting voltage at the end of a flight is coming in around the 3.78 volts per cell mark. You know what? That means that this thing is probably overcompensating a little bit too much, so I can go ahead and drop it down 1 milliamp per flight. you know, it just all takes a fine-tuning process. The sensors themselves are accurate, but as we have learned, as we've taught on our CLE Nation, and I would try to pound into you guys, batteries are the single most inconsistent thing in this hobby. I mean, hey, I fly what I believe is good packs. They work for me. They give me the performance that I want. But at the end of the day, they are still batteries. There are no amazing ones. There are good ones. There are great. There are bad. But you just don't know. So you kind of have to go in and really tailor this stuff to each individual pack and your style. So yeah, this right here, sweet setup. I couldn't be any happier with it. It took me a little bit to get all this kind of figured out and how to integrate it into my old batteries. But now that I do, it is amazing. I can go up and shoot auto after auto after auto after auto and get, you know, 30 autos in a battery. Whereas before, at about the 6-minute mark, I would just chicken out and be done because I felt like, oh my gosh, I've been flying so long. Well, this will actually tell you how long you can do that. So anyway, thanks guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Yeah, please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you are not, and we'll catch you guys later.